This video is about quitting alcohol. 3 months ago, I drank my last beverage, alcohol, which was like a big night of drinking with friends. So that was 3 months ago, 90 days, give or take. So it feels good, like it's a good milestone, and I've done 90 days before. 90 days is the longest I've ever gone. Last time was different though, and I have to say this 90 days was more difficult than the first 90 days, which is kind of weird because you would think the first 90 days that you do would be the hardest. I think the reasoning for that is different because the first time I did it as a bet, like I put money on the line, like a big amount of money, and I was accountable to someone else. And although that helps and it got me through the 90 days, in fact easier, I didn't get to the core of the problem, of to why I'm drinking, why I feel I need to do it. One of the things is when you're putting that money on the line, that reason is so strong that you just go, well, I'm not losing that amount of money. That's why I'm not drinking. Whereas second time around, it was me versus me. When I got a craving for drinking, which I actually think it's a craving to connect socially, and I'll go into that. Whenever I got that craving, I couldn't just go, well, this person's counting on me. I've put money on the line. I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to lose that money. It's a different conversation that happens. It's different emotions. Your will, your personal will and your personal accountability strengthens. That muscle gets so strong because you have to say no to you, as in there ain't nobody that's going to pull you up. There ain't nobody that's going to be disappointed by you. So it's really, you're doing it for yourself versus doing it for someone else. And that's such a big thing. Like there's such a difference between doing something for someone else and doing it for yourself. Being reliant on yourself versus being reliant on someone else. Self-reliance, that's what this is. That's the will and the strength that's built. But also my relationship with alcohol changed, as in, why do you do it? Because it's this poison, right? And big science research coming out, like Andrew Huberman, podcasts, scientific researchers saying that it's number one cause of death, motor vehicle accidents, most murders happen on alcohol, leading cause of depression, makes people fat, makes people aggressive. Like, it's like the worst legal drug that's promoted by society. It's this sort of virus, in my opinion. There's no way it would be legalized today if it came out. Like, it's the worst offender of all drugs, yet it's legal and it's promoted by society. Just no one's willing to look at the facts because there's this social group, it's group think. Everyone else does it, must be okay then. We have fun on it, don't we? But then 2 days of depression after drinking it. Feeling like shit. Causing violence and death and depression. Like, what a fucking evil poison that is. Society's kind of fucked up that way. Because everyone else is doing it. It mustn't be too bad, can it? It'd be illegal otherwise, wouldn't it? Yeah, bullshit. Like, have a fucking think about it. It'll ruin your life. It really will. So that's one part of it. There's just the poison and the neuroscience behind it, saying that it can take 9 months for all the alcohol to properly leave your body. Like, they're saying that it gets into every cell in your body, whereas like other drugs act differently. Alcohol gets into every cell and organ. How crazy is that? And they're saying that 9 months later is when it finally leaves the brain. Like it gets stuck. The last bit of alcohol still gets stuck in the brain and doesn't, I don't know, extract or just detoxify the brain for 9 months. So in my case, I've still got another 6 months for it to properly balance out or leave. How crazy is that? And that can be just having a couple of beers, a couple of wines, a couple of cocktails. Like, the facts are the facts. This is neuroscience. You can't really argue with it. They're scientists. Like, it's proven in a lab. Yeah. And look, I think it affects people differently, but so there's two things. There's the accountability, doing it for yourself and not others. There's just the sickeningness or the putridness of it, just the poison that you're putting into your body and you're detoxing. But then there's the craving of how you learn to drink. So a lot of people learn to socialize and they learn to meet new people when drinking, because it eases their social anxiety. To walk up to a group of people, to walk up to the opposite sex, like, there's so much tied to alcohol in like a party scene, in a social scene, in the dating scene, like, two things that are so wired into us, like our need to be sexually active and satisfied and procreate is reliant on alcohol in a lot of situations, like conditioned situations of our society. And then the second one is socializing. We're social creatures, to connect with friends, to have conversations, to bond. A lot of it around alcohol. So I started looking at it because I'm sitting here going, well, I'm not heading to bars. Fuck that. Like, don't get me wrong, I went to a couple of bars with friends, like I think 2 times. I was okay. But I was just talking with my friends and like I was only there for a bit. But I hardly socialized in the first 2 months of this. I'm like, there's something missing. And that's when the craving for the alcohol would come up, when I wanted to socialize. So it tells you that it's not necessarily the feeling of drinking that might release you from emotions, although I think that's a part of it, a big part of it. Maybe even a bigger part of it is the social part, because I've started socializing with people in a healthy way. Join me for a boxing class. Let's meet at a cafe for a coffee. Let's talk about some business stuff over lunch. Things that don't need alcohol, that are healthy, and just socializing and catching up, So a big part of the craving is actually to feel connected socially. That's my honest and true opinion and perception of a big reason people drink alcohol. There's a big reason behind it. We want to feel connected socially. So sometimes that craving of, I want to go out, it's a combination, I think. I think it's a combination of knowing that we want to feel connected to ourselves and others. We're often connected to ourselves through others. After having a great conversation, a positive experience with others, we feel more connected with ourselves, and vice versa. But then there's the part of the everyday stresses or that release. So of course we have patterns and people handle stress differently. For example, if you're running a high profile company, you're the CEO, or like you're just a high stress situation, that might be a relationship problem, it might be a parenting stress, it might be a business stress, it might be a family related stress, some argument, whatever, and you just think, the anxiety, the I'm feeling downness, the angst, like I just and you need to drink, like, that feels better, yeah, shit, like you're trying to get out of that depressive anxiety stuckness by drinking, and a lot of people do that. This time around, I had to look at that more. So old patterns and problems that came up, when they did, I would feel this urge to want to drink, to release those stuck emotions, to release that angst, to release and just break free of, like you're not present, you're not feeling it. You want to, people drink for a release as well. And that's what's a brutal addictive combination, is that release of stress and anxiety and stuckness of built up emotions, bad sleep, not looking after yourself perhaps fully, overstressing yourself, and social connection. So you're getting a release of your emotions, and you're getting this connection to yourself and others through a social situation. So alcohol is addictive socially in that sense, because it's this combination again of the release of negative emotions, temporarily of course, and the bonding experience and chemicals of connecting with others and yourself. That's what makes it addictive. So yeah, I have changed. It's been difficult. 30 days is the hardest part. 30, 60, 90 days, okay. 3 months, fuck yeah. I've done it. Like, I feel proud of myself, yeah? I fucking did it for myself. And that muscle, that will, that part of you that knows now that you are self-reliant, because a big part of progressing spiritually and emotionally and as a human is the ability to say no. It's the ability to say no to the bad behavior from others stepping over your boundary, who may not respect you in some way, or they're just so used to stepping over your boundary, and then you get healthy and you go no. So it's a bit like, it's this muscle of no, actually. It's more about what you say no to. Oh, come out, drink with us the Friday night, da 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 da. But then in the background, you're going, yeah, but that's going to take me out for Sunday, Monday, I'm going to feel bad. It's going to take my fitness away. It's going to take away from my business. It's going to take away from my meditation practice. And you've got all these things that you've built up positively that you would not sacrifice for this short-term 2-hour pleasure, 4-hour pleasure of drinking. It's a trade-off. Like, in that moment, you're allowed to go no, or you have the skill to say no, because you know that you've put 5 hours into meditation in the last week. You've put 60 hours into your work. You've put this great amount into what food you eat and your fitness. So that's another thing, the ability to say no to the food. And so it's all about being able to say no to things and having that self-control. And I think people get the wrong idea. It doesn't mean that you're just like saying no to every situation. Oh, that's, people go, well, that's not fun. Where do you live? You don't drink. You don't eat burgers all the time. You don't do the one night stand thing anymore. So you're really like on a path of being able to say no to some of the great pleasures that you can get. But the one principle to follow is that they are short-term pleasures. Remember that. If you're craving a drink, if you're craving a one-night stand, if you're craving to eat, too many burgers, you can't just eat perfect all the time, but when you're eating the wrong foods too much. If you're craving to not do the exercise when you should, like all of those things, just know that whatever pleasure you're going to get from staying on social media, from having a one-night stand, from eating burgers, this and this, it's temporary. The craving is temporary. So remember that the craving is temporary, but also if you do the thing, that short pleasure, like a cigarette, like a dopamine hit from scrolling on Instagram. It's a short pleasure. It only lasts a certain amount of time, and then there's a hangover. Oh, I love the food. I love the food. Oh, I feel heavy. I'm disappointed in myself for doing that. I let myself down. Ugh. Drink, 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 drink. Short-term pleasure, social connection, release some anxiety. Oh, I'm hungover for 4 days, 2 days, whatever. I'm suffering in my business in this because I drank. A short-term pleasure for not a long-term gain, not even a gain at all, really. Oh, one night stand. Did I really connect with the person? Did I really like them? Oh, not really. Why don't I feel uplifted after this? It's a short-term pleasure. And you're looking at, am I looking to connect socially? Am I trying to release something emotionally? Like, am I trying to shed stuckness, for lack of a better term? And just look at those things and go, how could I connect socially in a healthy way? How can I eat the food in a healthy way to take away that temporary craving, you know? Oh, I want to message this girl because I know that she'll come around and I can go to her place and we can have this short-term thing. How do I satisfy myself differently? You know, it's about pause, delay, and knowing what the motives are, and then that short-term thing. So just think of it like, this is a short-term craving, and if I do that thing, it's a short-term pleasure. But if I delay, you know, if you delay and you pivot and you choose a different behavior, this is short-term, long-term gratification. Long-term gratification is the best. The payoff is insane. It's like right now, I feel this high of 90 days not drinking. It's a long-term gratification. And what's the gratification? Wow. It's not that I get to drink again. It's that I learn all this stuff. It's that I increase the will of myself, the ability to say no, understanding the social dynamics of wanting to connect with others, of trying to shed stuckness. You can't get that stuff from, I'm going to stop drinking for 5 days, or I'm going to do the push-ups for 6 days. It's months and months and months and months. 90 days. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Peace.